Greetings, programs. This is Wretch. Welcome back to Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector. And in the last episode, guys, we were able to take the rig on our very first contract job. There was a derelict probe that was broadcasting a Conway signal that would have threatened the station. We went to go shut it down, and despite the fact that it almost blew up on us, we were able to get the job done. And Naya got to go on a job, much to her brother's anger, but very good crewmate to have. Now, we've got another mission here in the works, and this is going to be a big one because it's going to get us our fuel lines that we need for the rig, and that's to go to Solheim HS-22, the rusting hulk of a pre-collapsed ship. Now, you may notice that things look a little bit different from the last episode, and that was because I was a derp and accidentally restarted the game. So, we got all the way over to this point. Fortunately, there was not a whole lot of dice rolling I had to do. You notice that we have a lot more money than we did in the last episode, but I also took a bit of stress damage here to this dice. And once you get a certain amount of stress damage, that dice is destroyed until we find some way to repair it. So I guess it all kind of evens out. But we've got full supplies, full fuel, and let's go ahead and head here to this derelict. Confirm the vector. Now, this is what I'm kind of worried about. We've got Juni here, who didn't seem particularly on the up and up, but we'll go ahead and select. That'll be Juni and Serafin. Hopefully Serafin will be able to keep an eye on her. And let's travel to the contract. I love the look of our ship. The Solheim derelict fills the cockpit windows, all twisted plates and skeletal strutwork. You watched it in horror and fascination as Serafin completed the approach, both of you silent in the presence of this decaying beast. Now, as you settle beside it, Serafin is the first to break the silence. This thing is already dead. He shakes his head. It's a corpse sleeper. He nudges the ship closer, looking for a place to dock. I touch this thing too hard, it'll crumble into dust. Let's not do that. Serafin does a little mock salute. Aye, aye. He rolls his eyes. Any other tips?
Take us up there. That's the bridge.
Juni points toward one end of the ship, and both you and Serafin turn around, having forgotten she was even in the cockpit. She hasn't said a word since you departed. She glances at both of your bemused faces.
What?
She looks away.
Sorry, that's where we need to go.
She stops pointing. Serafin nods toward Juni. Well, she's not wrong, Sleeper. Bridge would be a good start.
Let's assess the wreck first.
Juni settles silently back into her seat. She looks away, out of the cockpit, and you're unsure if she's upset or just embarrassed. Carefully, Serafin brings the ship close to the derelict and guides it along the hull. The rig's lights ripple over the broken surface, finding gaps and cracks everywhere. It seems remarkable that the derelict is still held together.
Shit!
Serafin hisses as a huge spinning piece of debris drifts in front of the cockpit. He pushes the rig down beneath it, squeezing down the debris in the hull, and he does so, an ear-splitting screech signals the rig scraping across the derelict's skin. You freeze for a moment, waiting for the breach sirens to sound. But the moment passes, and you relax. You glance at Serafin. His face betrays no emotion. This isn't safe. Serafin shakes his head. I'm going to find somewhere better to settle the ship, and we need to suit up and work our way along the hull on foot. You look back at Juni and see her still in her seat, eyes wide.
You okay?
Juni looks at you, and there's a sudden unfamiliar hardness in her eyes that surprises you. Then a moment later, it's gone and her gaze softens.
I'm okay.
She smiles a flat smile.
Don't worry.
Serafin brings the ship away from the derelict's hull an inch at a time, then slowly brings it round to settle close to a mostly intact hull plate. This section's fairly free of debris. He nudges the ship a little closer. We should be good to hold here. Serafin unclips from his seat and you and Juni follow suit. As you all glide down toward the airlock, Juni silently follows. You can't help but feel judged. As you reach the airlock, Serafin begins suiting up. If we're lucky, that little collision hasn't started a cascade that'll end with this place coming apart under our feet. Serafin violently kicks his legs into a set of EVA trousers, clearly irritated by his own carelessness. It wasn't your fault. Serafin shoots you a look. Fault isn't going to matter when we're floating off into the black. This is a delicate job, Juni says quietly, almost to herself. The data core will be fragile. She casts a furtive glance in the direction of you and Serafin. Very fragile. Understood. Juni nods appreciatively. The rest of the preparation process takes place in tense silence, each of you considering the delicate job ahead. You suit up too. Though you don't need a helmet to breathe, you slide one on and lock the seals for protection. This wreck isn't going to give up its salvage easily. The core should be near the bridge, maybe even inside it, but there's a lot of wreck here, and there might be good salvage tucked away in the cargo hold. Once the suits are on and the seals are checked, you cycle the lock and stare out at the vast expanse of the twisted hulk before you. Time to go to work. Okay, so we've got 2 areas, it looks like. Juni's focused on... what do you got? Oh, we've got an engineer one, that's good. Force the lock with engage, that would be a Serafin thing. Derelict stress, a still decaying ruin. Ew. So we've already done some damage here. That's not good. Clear cargo doors, find access point. That's weird, there's nothing really for Juni to do right off the bat. No? I guess we can go ahead and get going. For some bridge entry. A section of the lock is expertly cut in a way, both safely and efficiently. I'm a fan of that. And I guess we could go ahead and keep on keeping on. 50% positive, 50% neutral. Cutting away the lock layer by layer is the safest way. This will take a long time. Maybe. We got plenty of supplies, though. Not a whole lot of fuel. Nice. I guess we could have Serafin attack that part, but... Let's see the depressurized bay. There are layers and layers of broken hull plates blocking the cargo doors. This will require some heavy work. And then intuition. Has to be a way in amongst the shattered hull. Searching will be slow, but at least the derelict will remain stable. 25% negativity. That's going to lead to some sort of nonsense, it seems. But no risk it, no biscuit. Let's go, Serafin. Okay, personal stress. +2 cargo entry. It's exhausting manual work to clear the plates, but progress is made, piece by piece. Ew. Okay, you do not like intuition. You know, I think we're good right now. Let's hope that a turn doesn't cause any more stress to happen. Let's take advantage of our supplies. End the cycle. Okay, cool. That makes life a whole lot better. 100%. You have cleared a passage into the cargo bay. Time to see what's inside. Cargo storage. Crushed cargo bays. Oh, there's our interface. Countless vast bays extend from here, deep into the derelict. Scanning and mapping each one will allow you to navigate them safely. Give you a second. Alright, well, let's get the bridge open too. See if we can figure out what else we can pull off here. 25%. Yeah, why not? The lock is open. Time to move in. The bridge of the derelict lies silent. The pale beams of your suit lamps catch rows of terminals and clouds of glittering dust. Wires wave like seaweed, and the whole scene appears as if underwater. Chaotic, but still. Juni glides past you, disturbing the dust and taking you by surprise as she does. She's been a stoic presence so far, but in this moment, she seems drawn forward by some force of curiosity. You watch as she bats away debris and begins checking terminals.
What are you doing?
Juni doesn't seem to hear you, or at least is ignoring you. She's already prying an access panel off one of the more intact-looking terminals. As she does, puffs of rust color the vacuum around her red. Let's not stop her, but let's approach her, see if we can... She is secretive, after all. She turns back to the terminal and finishes prying off the plate. Then quickly, she reaches inside, fishing around for something. Her hand comes back out with a waving cable topped with a thick connector. As soon as she sees it, she slips a keyboard-sized deck out from somewhere on her person. She runs her hand across the back until she finds the right port and slots in the connector. All of this happens in a few seconds, the routine practiced and precise. It's hard not to be impressed.
Not your first Solheim ship?
She glances at you, a nervous look on her face. Does she think you're accusing her of something? She shakes her head and goes back to her work. Juni's fingers dance across the deck's keyboard and a burst of static lights up the Solheim terminal screen. A sudden burst of light and color takes you by surprise. Juni's fingers tap away, the terminal screen flashing with blocks of color and lines of code. It buzzes and vibrates, its long-dead systems forced back into chaotic life. Then, all at once, it goes dark. The terminal is dead.
Shit,
Juni hisses beneath her breath.
Useless.
You can't tell if the insult is directed at the terminal or herself.
What are you doing?
She looks up at you as if she was just waking from a dream.
Looking for something useful.
She pauses.
Useful for the contract that is.
She glances down.
A map of the ship. Plans. You know. The cradle with the data core can't be far.
She pushes off from the terminal, gliding away from you.
I'll start looking.
She calls back and heads to the other side of the bridge. Serafin glides up beside you. Everything all right?
What do you think of Juni?
The kid? Serafin shrugs. You know better than me. Keeps to herself. He squints at her retreating form. Serafin stretches in his suit. I have to admit, it's nice to be back working, especially now that we're the ones who reap the benefits. He claps you on the shoulder. Feels good to be taking our fate into our own hands. I know it's pretty rough there, back on Hexport. And out here we're just as likely to get shredded by debris as find the damn data core. But aren't you glad we made a break for it? He pauses and looks down, having asked the question almost by accident. I mean, I am. I just don't want to speak for you.
I'm glad too.
Serafin smiles. You better be. I didn't give up that little dark side cupboard I was living in for nothing. He laughs at his own joke. Look, Serafin checks his suit's wrist seals. Once we've got a bit of space behind us, once we've gone the distance, if we manage to get that far, he furrows his brow. Don't feel you owe me. I'm no charity case. You want us to go our separate ways? Fine by me. He meets your eyes. Just do me the favor of telling me to my face.
That won't happen.
Serafin nods, but doesn't respond. After a moment, he shines his torch out into the dark, checking the rows of terminals all across the bridge. You watch the glittering dust as it eddies in the beam. Serafin sighs. Let's get to it. You watch as he crosses the bridge, his torch probing the dark corners. You feel a chill run through your body as you imagine the people that once ran this ship. The Solheim crew, surely long dead. What was it like here before the collapse, when this system was the jewel in Solheim's crown? It's impossible to know. That history is lost to you now. All you can do is pick up what you can from the ruins. New location discovered. Okay, we got the bridge. Of course, with the interface. Great, and that is a lot to gather. We've got 4 supplies. Still got plenty of things that we can scrap survey. Do we want to be... I don't know. Do we want to be careful here? I mean, we still got 4 supplies. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and just end the cycle. We got some wiggle room. Allegedly. Ooh, we got some good options there. So let's do a good programming check here. Through some careful triangulation, a 3D map of the layers of bays is slowly built, piece by piece. The bays are mapped, and it seems the deep parts of the ship are in surprisingly good condition. And what do we got? Deep bays. Extract raw scrap. Deep inside the derelict, there are masses of intact scrap. This is valuable material, but it's also what's holding the ship together. Oh, that's not good. So... what are we needing to do here? Can I do any... okay, I can reboot the system with what I have here. That's not ideal, but at least we won't lose any dice over it. We'll start that action. Rather than hunting old pathways, rebooting select systems, a strong pulse comes through from deep inside the derelict. That must be the core, but its location is vague and needs triangulating. The attribute systems barely respond, but a few faint pulses suggest possible starting points for the search. Serafin, let's go ahead and do that. What do we got? Crisis active. Uh-oh. Contract stress has triggered a crisis. A crisis will add 1 contract stress per cycle unless resolved at a crisis location. That's not good. Through persistence and skill, the scrap comes away from the derelict's internal structure without damaging it. What did we do, Ray? Hull breach. The derelict's hull is falling apart. If this breach isn't sealed and fast, the entire wreck will collapse. Ooh, only one thing we can really do. Go, Serafin, go! Crap. The hull splinters and fractures. The seal won't hold. This isn't working. Well, I think that's a perfect time to go ahead and get some sleep. That sucks. Okay. And then that goes up once. Crazy. So it's a really kind of a feast or famine situation here. let's do this. Let's go. And that just lowers. Okay, endurance is definitely. This has to be Serafin's time to shine. Okay, breach is partially sealed. Do it again, please. Okay. So I guess every time that we tried to grab something here, it'd cause. So I think that raw scrap might be the only thing that we can take care of. Let's do this. We've got a ton of dice to spend here. Strong pulses. I love it. I'm a big fan. And then with Juni's help, interface skill proficiency. Cracked it. And let's give it a go. Finally, the location of the data core is identified. Now extracting it is all that remains. Please tell me this is an engineer thing. Oh, hallelujah. Well, my time to shine. Data core extraction, and there's data core damage. Core is barely intact. Any mistake, no matter how small, could render it inoperable, making the contract null and void. So let's go ahead and push. That gets us a 5, and now a 6. Halfway through. All right. We have a hull breach we need to stop here. Stat. Otherwise, this is going to just get worse and worse for us. And, yeah. Alright, let's go. Please, Serafin. Wow. Okay, Serafin's having some really, really bad luck here. We don't seem to be doing much better ourselves. Okay, there's part of the breach sealed. I know we're kind of wasting our dice here, but we don't have a choice in the matter. Slow, slow, slow. Breach is sealed, but the damage is done. Still, that's good for us. That's what we needed to do. And we still have 100% thanks to Juni to isolate the core. No damage, and we can take care of this in one last turn. We may get a little bit hungry, just a bit, but I'm okay with that. Sometimes you risk it and still get no biscuit, but the biscuit is later. You've used all your energy and are now starving. When starving, you gain 1 stress per cycle, and any energy loss accrues stress. Eat to regain energy. Okay. That is okay with me. Sleeper will grab the core by cutting it out. Ooh, extract the core from the Solheim derelict cleanly. You watch nervously as Juni guides the core out of the cradle. A large ball, almost half your height in diameter, it glides up out of the framework that held it, connections waving, loose and cut. Her breathing comes through the suit's comms, loud enough to be picked up, and it fills you with tense energy as you watch. Over the course of this job, you've seen Juni both focused and distracted, nervous and precise, but you've not seen her any more confident than in this moment now. She floats beside the data core, handling it with care and skill, as if it was the vast egg of some endangered bird. She glances up and sees you watching her, and you notice something unfamiliar in her eyes. Something you've perhaps seen in a passing moment before, only now it's no momentary lapse or change. It's set in place. You see determination. She guides the core a little way from you with one hand, and at the same time comes forward, almost placing herself between you and her prize. And it does seem to be hers in the way she handles it, the possessive way she screens it with her body.
We need to talk.
The statement comes flat and deadpan, any nervous tremble gone.
Right now. What are you doing? Sleeper, I want to be honest with you, but I need to know you won't take this from me.
Juni glances around the cradle defensively, but Serafin is already heading back to the ship to prepare the cargo bay for the core storage. You two are alone.
Tell me and we'll see.
Fine. She folds her arms, but it's staying with me.
Karsten doesn't deserve this treasure, Sleeper.
Juni glances over her shoulder at the core.
Do you know how many of these are left intact?
She shakes her head, and all he wants to do is swipe it clean so he can use it to interface with Hexport.
All that data, gone. So what do you want? I want to extract the data, to make use of it.
You see some genuine emotion flicker in her eyes. She sighs.
After extracting the data, the core will be unusable. There's a security system that will fry it if data duplication is attempted. I can delay the security response long enough to copy the data, but after that...
She trails off.
You've done this before.
She looks down.
Yes.
She meets your eye.
This is why I came. Look at this place, Sleeper.
She gestures to the cradle room, a dark and twisted cavern of long-dead tech.
How many of these places are left? How many chances do we have to recover anything this old, this fragile? Like it or not, we live in Solheim's shadow, in their ruins, and yet we know almost nothing. What chance do we have of understanding how we got here when others like them, like Senatstadt and Conway, are descending on this system? What can we learn from the core? I don't know, Sleeper. That is the point.
She gestures around herself.
We could learn our history, or how this system was settled. We could better learn the technology we build our lives on. We can uncover Solheim's crimes and seek to make amends.
She looks at you with pleading eyes.
We could see beyond survival, towards something else.
You've never heard Juni speak like this, and you realize what you have taken for nervousness was actually control. This, the person in front of you defending a decaying data core with her life, is the real Juni. But then you think of Lane, of the price he likely put on you and Serafin's heads, and of the feed lines, without which even leaving Hexport would be almost impossible. Is this even a choice? Not with those stats. You need to explain about the feed lines. Juni listens carefully as you tell her about the deal with Karsten, the feed lines he offered you, and that both you and Serafin are on the run.
Then I'll help you.
Juni doesn't flinch.
We find another way to get those feed lines. Karsten is an idiot. I can hack his security and you can pull them out of there, or... Serafin looks tough. Maybe he can grab them.
She looks desperate.
We can do it. We can do something. Why should I trust you? Let me be honest with you. I don't work for Karsten. He didn't send me.
No.
I might have misled you there. I know he knew where the derelict was, and I heard your conversation. I've been keeping an eye on him.
She pauses.
I know I lied, but I can help you. Let me strip the data from the cores, and I promise to help you get the feed lines.
She meets your eyes with intensity. It's a lot of information to take in at once. You need a second to think. Let's do it.
Thank you.
Juni looks genuinely moved.
This is a gift to us all, Sleeper. I hope you will see it like that.
Juni turns to the data core, quickly gathering one of its loose connections. She takes out her deck and plugs it in, then crosses her legs and places it across them, floating tethered beside the core. Her fingers begin tapping at the keyboard, teasing out the core's data and whatever Solheim secrets it might contain. I was going to say, be sure to drink your Ovaltine. As she does, Serafin enters. He braces himself in the entryway. What's she doing? Juni doesn't seem to notice.
Emptying the data.
She's doing what? Serafin jumps to attention, but you put a hand on his shoulder. He eyes you suspiciously. I hope you know what you're doing, Sleeper. He nods toward the core. That's our ticket out of Hexport.
Juni will help us.
If you say so. You both turn to watch Juni stripping the core of its secrets. A little while later, once the core has been emptied out and its defense mechanism has scorched its seams black, you watch the metallic sphere spinning gently in the room and wonder if you've just made a terrible mistake. Contract failed! Woo! Okay. Well, that is a thing that has happened now. And we are a bit... Let's go ahead and get some more scrap while we're on the way. For 2. And it is time to leave. And I think that's pretty much all that we can. But we don't have any supplies, so this is definitely where we need to vacate. And we will head back to Hexport and see what happens, guys, in the next episode. I hope y'all have enjoyed it. If you liked the episode, please leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, that'd be a big help. And we'll see you next time. Later days, everyone.